it won't let me switch it. Come on. Mic volume. Okay, everything should be working now. Okay, so for some reason, it's just been a Friday, guys. It's totally been a Friday. So I hit go live, but I didn't hit it a second time because you got to hit it twice to make you go live. And I'm like playing my intro song. I'm talking to you guys for like 3, 4 minutes and nothing is happening. And I'm like, oh, it's weird. Nobody's replying to me. And so I was having a problem with the Yeti microphone. God only knows what I did wrong there. So I had to switch to my crappy headphones. So I'm sorry that the sound probably won't be as good because it's my crappy headphones. It's a Friday. I'm so glad. So welcome again to Heather and Cheryl and Gayla and Half a Mo and Cool Game and everybody else. And my comedy of errors. This is why I don't teach technology and I teach writing. So I was saying that the Writing Compelling Fiction Workbook book, which I don't have yet in my hands, but I should in a few days because I ordered some, is live. And so the companion book to this with lots and lots of writing exercises, similar to what I did for the master plot plans and the master character plans, is live. And I put the link, I'm going to throw the link in again now that I'm talking about it. It's live on Barnes and Noble and Amazon and everywhere. So if you haven't ordered it, you can. You will have it in your hot little hands on June 24th. And we are working on the ebook version. It'll be out in a couple weeks. Hi, Ken. Nice to see you here. I have client books ahead of my own. So my formatter's working on my client books, and I told her my ebook could wait a little bit. Somebody did ask me on the channel if I was going to do an audiobook version, and I really want to do an audiobook of Writing Compelling Fiction itself, but I don't think I'll do it for the workbook. I don't know. Maybe I could put them together. I don't know. I don't know. I mean, you think I would have recorded an audiobook by now with all of this, but as we can see, I cannot operate a microphone to save my life. So I'm glad to see you all here. All right. And so today's writing prompt is from the Writing Compelling Fiction Workbook so that you guys get a little preview of it. So I'm going to put that up, and it is all about what battles your character will have to endure. So this is more of like a thinking question, because in the workbook, I give you lots of questions to think about and answer, because that's what I want you to do. So let's do our first writing sprint. We'll go for 15 minutes, and after that, we'll talk writing. So if you guys have writing questions, you can just ask me on the break. So let me start the writing prompt. I'm going to play some music, and we shall go. Hey guys, that 15 minutes went by super fast, and I actually did my own writing prompt today because I've been a little stuck in the Friday book, and I was super excited by that. Actually, it kind of gave me a really great area for where I could go with the book. And I just saw that Laporta asked a question there, and yes, welcome to the live stream. And yes, absolutely, you can ask questions. We write for 10 or 15 minutes at a time, usually 15 minutes. Just depends on how long I talk because I can be wordy, as y'all know. And then we do questions in between. So if you guys have questions, you can ask them. Nice to see you, Robert. So sorry that your wife is in the hospital, and I hope her operation goes well. I'm sure that is pretty worrisome, particularly on the end of the week. Silver Raleigh's got 197 words, half a mo 214. I did like this little exercise about the worst nightmare, and then I wrote, I think, a couple hundred words. Yeah, just 207 because I was working on what is the character's worst nightmare. It was like, because I've been knowing for a while that this book is going in the wrong direction. And I was in that point where, you kind of get in love with the words and you don't want to change them, but I knew that the plot was sort of falling apart. So I used my own little writing prompt there to do it. And Cheryl, 327 words, you rock. That's awesome. You were killing it there. I'm very excited for that. And yes, Heather, I totally agree with that. So Laporta, if you have a question, just go ahead and drop it in the thing in the comments box. I did load a new video and I am in the process of uploading another one. This one that went up today, Wednesday, the one that went up Wednesday was about writing characters that don't suck. Because, the negativity kind of headline sells on YouTube. And yes, half a mo, I get it. Too many plot threads in my story, in your story. It's hard when you're balancing a lot of them. And I really admire authors that have like 6 or 7 simultaneous plots going on, because I really think that is a lot. But it helps a lot if they can all intertwine in some way. So that's the link to the Write a Character That Doesn't Suck video. It's basically some more tips on characters. And then I've got one going up that's in the process of loading on YouTube right now about writer's block. So it'll probably be live after I'm done with the live stream, because I think my computer is doing all it can possibly do. The laptop that I have was not made for video editing. So every time I do videos, it slows it way down. So anyways, my other tip for plot threads is to really kind of keep a chart for each one. So when I've done like multiple linked books, so that I'm balancing the plot thread for book 3, laying the groundwork for book 3 and book 2 and book 1, I would have a chart and sort of map out timeline wise where I needed to introduce this element that was going to be in book 3 or this element that was going to be in book 2, because you really want to sort of keep all that straight as you're going forward. And yes, it can be hard. And Gayla, you'll get an email. So I don't like to necessarily discuss the mastermind group here, because not everybody here is part of the mastermind group. It'll be like it always is. It's like the 3rd or 4th Thursday of the month. I don't even know what date that is. And 50K, yes, definitely hone the threads down, I think. Do I use a program to lay out my chart? No, I do not. I am very old school. Like everything I do is just sort of handwriting that I can't read. You should see me, because I make my notes for my videos like on my hand with my handwriting, and then I'm making my video. And if you guys could see the outtakes, I'm like, what does that say? No, but I have these big sheets of paper that are behind me. Maybe I'll grab one during the next writing sprint, that are from Levenger, which is a ridiculously expensive like stationary online store, but they're really big, and I love them because I can just kind of map everything out. The notepads are called Oasis pads, but they're huge, and for me it really allows me enough space to like write down notes and draw stuff. So I'll grab that on the next break for the writing sprint, so that I can show it to you guys afterwards. So yes, check out this week's video if you haven't already, and check out the Writing Compelling Fiction workbook if you haven't already. All right, let's do another writing sprint, and I will put the prompt up again, and we'll do 15 more minutes. All right, let me know if you have a question. Just drop it in the comments. we go. We are back 15 minutes again. And I got to load my new video. So after you guys are done here, don't go now. After you guys are done here, there's a video on beating writer's block. So, oh, yes, I said I would show you guys. So this is the Oasis pad, and Cheryl said she has some, but they're really, you can see they're really big. And I can write all my notes on there of planning, and I can do like the character skills and strengths and the plot and stuff like that. And I can use all the different sides. This one got a little wet, but I'll do all kinds of different character planning for the bigger books. I don't do it for my smaller books, but I definitely do it for the bigger books. And Gayla, it's always like the third or fourth Thursday of the month. So I've got to look because I'm taking my kids on vacation this month on that. And yes, Ken, a chart is always a great idea because a timeline, I don't know if I have a timeline one here because I think it's been a while since I've done a book that was interconnected. Oh, wait, yeah, here's one. Like it's a whole bunch of different notes on a timeline that I can put it all together and make sure that I'm keeping it all straight for the future. And CC, creating the right ticking clock in a novel to not feel contrived. I have not done that. I love the whole ticking time clock thing about how, you've got to solve this problem or get that goal within a certain period of time. I've done it in the suspense novels and also in the horror young adult because, you really want to have people solve their problem beforehand. I think it's the Cellar. So The Cellar is a zombie Romeo and Juliet novel. And this had like a ticking time clock because the zombies had like a limited amount of time to kill the people and use their blood to become young again. This is a young adult. And so they had to figure out how they were going to battle them pretty quickly. So you want to keep it obviously a short timeline, and you want to make the stakes really high because that makes the ticking clock so much stronger. So if you give it like a 1-year timeline, obviously that's not going to help. And also make it matter so much more to the main character because when it matters more to them, like for The Cellar, she had fallen in love with one of the zombies. And so it mattered a lot more to her to kind of figure a way out so she and her family wouldn't die and also to save her zombie boyfriend. So the stakes were high for the main character of The Cellar to solve this problem. So when the stakes are super high and the character really, really cares about it and the timeline's super short, a ticking clock works really, really well. And look at Cheryl, 546 words. Miss Blogger asked, what is my comfort genre and trope? I've written everything, which I talked about in the 8 million copies book, 8 million copies video, I think, because you guys that were here a couple weeks ago, because we didn't have it last week, I think, I've sold 8 million copies of books. So, yeah, it's amazing. So I've done a lot of different genres. I've done romance, women's fiction, horror, young adult, suspense, all kinds of things. And I've also written a ton of nonfiction because my company is nonfiction book creation. So I do a lot. And how would a clock work in a romance without zombies? I like the zombies though. I'm trying to think if I've had one, and it's hard. It's really hard. Like somebody will ask me, remember this book? And sometimes I'll get a foreign edition of one of my books and I'll look at the character names. I'm like, I didn't write this book. And then I'll look it up and I did write the book. So I don't necessarily remember all 85 or 90. There's a lot of them over the years. But for that, you've got to have some kind of thing that has high stakes. Like, okay, yes, Miracle on Christmas Eve was a romance that I wrote that had a ticking time clock. So the hero, the father of this little girl, suddenly inherits this little girl he didn't know about because the mom dies and the little girl is like 5 or 6 and it's Christmas and he's never really celebrated Christmas and he wants to give her a Christmas. So there's your ticking time clock, right? Because this little girl deserves a Christmas. And he goes to a town with a Mrs. Claus who is refusing to be Mrs. Claus. She actually has a plane ticket bought to go to like Aruba. And so he's got a ticking time clock there with giving his little girl a really great Christmas. And so their whole timeline was condensed because it was only like a week, I think, before Christmas when he comes to this town. And his motivation was really high to do this. And for the heroine, her motivation was just as strong to leave town and not be Mrs. Claus. But as she got to know the little girl, the motivation changed and she did want to be able to deliver that little miracle on Christmas Eve to the little girl. So you can do it totally in a lot of different ways. You just got to kind of keep a small timeline and really high stakes for the characters. Yeah, 8 million copies. It's amazing. And I think it's actually more than that because I didn't add up all my royalty statements. I only added up some, and I know it's probably more. I don't like math, even though I did good at it in high school. I hate math, and so I was like, yeah, this is enough to add. I'm not going to add anymore. So it's like 8 million something. So that's why the video says 8+ million, because I have no idea if it's 8,163,000, like that. I just kind of didn't add the last few royalty statements, but it's definitely over 8. And Ken finished the chapter with 200 words and now answering questions in the fire rescue group for authors. That's great. I remember having different kinds of specialty people come into the different writing meetings that I would go to, and it really helps to have people that really know their skills. And Cheryl, yes, the zombies were like the Walking Dead, but not the bad kind of Walking Dead. It was more like there's a romance movie with a zombie guy, and I forget what it's called, but I actually really liked it. It came out around the same time or after my book, I'm not sure. But you don't have to have them all be like The Walking Dead. They can be like the movie with Brad Pitt. They can be like the I Am Legend. They can be all kinds of different ways, because zombies, I'm sorry to say, I don't think they exist at all. And so you can create whatever kind of zombies you want. So I gave my zombies, some of them, good motivations and good reasons for what they wanted to do. So anyways, all right, you're welcome, Cece, anytime. All right, let's do another 15 minutes and we shall do a little bit more writing, everybody. 15 more minutes. See you soon. That time always goes so fast. I did write another couple hundred words in the scene that I was working on. And yes, you guys are welcome. And Miss Blogger, what if I happens if I can't think of anything for my character's worst nightmare, but I only know their fear and misbelief? Well, it kind of comes from the same thing. So what you're afraid of is what you need to face, which is generally your worst nightmare. So I always come back to that example of the germaphobe that was on Seinfeld with Kramer. Her worst nightmare would be to be surrounded by germs. And because she is a germaphobe, she's afraid of germs, obviously. So, and misbelief, I think, is more of an emotional thing. But whatever the character is afraid of, I think that you use that to create their worst nightmare. You give them exactly what they don't want to face, because that is what forces us to grow and change. The last thing Shrek wants to do is go out in the world and be among other people because the mean guys with the pitchforks try to kill him. And so his worst nightmare is having to be with people. And the whole movie, he's forced to be around Donkey, the fairy tale creatures, the people of Duloc, Fiona, the dragon. He's forced to be around people. And half a mo, they're not necessarily plot threads, they're just deeper and deeper motivation. During the different to the, oh, that's very different to the external goal. Sometimes I find it hard not to see that difference. Yes, reasons why the character has to do something. You can have multiple ones. I like to list, and you'll see this in the workbook, I like to do 6 motivations because I have this whole like rule of 6 thing that I talk about a little bit in the workbook. It really helps you kind of think outside the box. I think I've told you guys this before on the channel, but there's a marketing theory about top of mind awareness with 5 things. Everybody can recall 5 of pretty much anything: brands of cars, toothpaste, sodas. But it's the 6th one that your brain really struggles for because we remember odd numbers of things. It's just the way our brains work. And so when you really go deeper on that motivation, you start to discover more and more emotional reasons why a character needs something, which is what I like the best because it creates characters that we bond with. I was literally just talking to somebody about a nonfiction book today. It's sort of like a how-to, and telling him how important it is to add stories to it, not like fictional stories, but like relatable stories, because people connect with things that they understand because they look at that and they're like, okay, I get it. Or this person is like me, or I can understand why they're so motivated to do this. So even in The Cellar, which is her trying to save the zombie boyfriend, she has a really good motivation for it. And so that makes the reader be like, yeah, let's hope her zombie boyfriend doesn't die, but he is a zombie. So, there is that. Thank you, Cece. I'm very excited that you can, that you're going to pre-order the workbook. And yes, stories provide illustration or context, but most of all, they provide connection. Because when we can understand the emotional reasons why somebody did something or why something happened, we connect with them. If you just look at the shows and stuff that you watch, like I care emotionally about people. And even like I watch a stupid amount of reality TV when there's nothing else on. And okay, there was COVID and then a writer's strike, so there's not as much on as there usually is. So I've been watching some reality TV, and there's certain seasons that I just don't care about any of the people because the producers did not do a good job of creating that emotional connection between the viewer and the people on the show. So yes, connection is key. Connection will do everything for your book because the readers feel like you are talking to them, like you really care, you understand them, and they can understand the characters. The books that I have read recently, the ones that I'm really into that I can't read fast enough essentially, are ones where I really connected with the character, even though I had nothing externally in common with the character. Like there was just a cop hero that I just read a book about, and I really liked him because he had so many flaws and insecurities and anxieties like I as a person have. And so I really wanted to see him sort of win the day at the end. And the author, is Tammy Hogue, really made me wait until the end to see that all come together. So thank you, CC. And thank you all for joining me. There will not be a live stream next Friday because I'm going on vacation with my kids. Probably shouldn't put that out into the world, but I won't be here. So don't come rob my house or anything. But no, I won't be here. We're going to go to the beach. And so no live stream for next Friday, but we'll be back on schedule the Friday afterwards. And then should be quite some time before I travel again. I don't think I start traveling again until October. So thank you all for joining me, and I appreciate all your questions, and I appreciate you guys all writing with me. And I hope you guys have a really great weekend and lots of writing. Check out the new video on the channel. Check out the Writing Compelling Fiction workbook. And I will see you in a couple of weeks. Have a great weekend, you guys. Bye bye.